Wilton Manors drag queen protest as these heels were made for walking. On March 26th, Flag Up invited the community members to drag up the drive, meaning Wilton Drive, at the action-oriented March in Heels protest to address Florida HB 1011 and other anti-LGBTQ+ legislation in Florida going on currently in the Florida legislative session. This was way more than just a march, as participants dressed in heels. Some wore pride apparel and some draped themselves in pride flags. The purpose of the event was to take action. The real stops were replaced with action stops along the 1 mile walk. And at each stop, hosted by different drag queens and community leaders, participants made calls to members of the legislature, sent emails, as well as shot, signed, and sent photo postcards. The walk began at the Pride Center at Equality Park, heading up Dixie Highway to 5 Points, and then on to Wilton Drive. The event concluded with a program at Hunter's Nightclub. The goals of the walk were to give a large and loud shout out to elected officials in Tallahassee. We're going to fight. To register voters, to register mail-in ballot voters, and to educate the larger community about the attacks from Tallahassee on the entire LGBTQ+ community. This is a good start.
Yeah.
Good start. 𝗙𝗵𝗏, I know there were many people involved in this. You sometimes tag a single voice, and I'm going to do that. 𝗙𝗵𝗏, City Commissioner for Wilton Manors, was one of the big voices behind this. The reason why this is so important today, the day after this protest, is this is percolating in 100 different communities all over America and all over the state of Florida. They will see that video, the B-roll video that we just showed. Hundreds and hundreds, and I'm underestimating the crowd size, came to participate. And this was a march to say, first, our free speech is our free speech. Second, drag queens are not sexual, and our governor is lying about it. That's what the march yesterday was all about. Our advocacy organizations are going to pay attention to a grassroots event like that and start to say, okay, in addition to what our traditional approaches of advocacy are going to be, here's something new in our arsenal that we're going to take. So from connection to connection to connection, this was a bullseye. And I loved, above everything else, it helps activate those voices that we're saying, why aren't you joining us? Why aren't you supporting us? Why aren't you turning out to vote? The first way to get them to pay attention to what is happening to our students, our teachers, our schools, our drag queens, is to make it fun.
Yeah.
And that's what they accomplished. Congratulations to 𝗙𝗵𝗏, to the community of Wilton Manors, because you helped create something. I've worked with drag queens for a long, long time. I haven't ever seen an event quite like what happened yesterday. And I think it's just the start.
And we've got to give a big shout out to all the heads of the organizations that were there as well. You know, Tatiana Braxton was there, Tony Lima was there, representing SunServe, and it was just an incredible day. Now we need this duplicated 100 times. That's the problem there. You know, this should have been going on at every corner of our neighborhood yesterday, all at the same time, for people to really take note. I was very happy to see the boys out. Okay, because that to me, you know how upset I was during Roe v. Wade, that I felt that the gay boys completely abandoned all the women in LGBTQ+. But the boys came out yesterday, and that meant so much. And I have to give a big shout out to all the boys who sent me a text a couple of weeks back saying, Faye, where the hell do I find size 14 heels, right? And this is going to you, Gary Van Horn. He texted me, and I told him Amazon has it, and he bought these amazing red heels that he could he only made it 3 blocks, but you did amazing in them, and so big kudos to the boys who came out, and they, stood by those drag queens. The drag queens need to see all of us. They need to see all of us out there, because again, drag queens are not sexualized. It's an art.
It's an art.
And when any one of us is attacked, all of us are under attack,
absolutely.
Right? That is like when this is not the first law that's going to look like this. In fact, we've seen dozens and dozens come from the legislature. When Black studies is under attack, when ethnic studies is under attack, when teachers are under attack, we all have to stand united in this space, right? That is that LGBTQ also is a radical form of politics against, right, the forms of oppression that exist in so many different forms. And like that is, it's so so important to stand with one another. And I just want last thing before I'll shut up. But it's this. I love this so much because there's so much that we can do, and this is a great, as you said, right, a fun way of doing that. But also call your legislature, right? Like that, as your legislators may have said that they're voting a certain way, it doesn't matter. It's still a numbers game. To have it recorded that you have opposition to a particular law, even after it's passed, it makes a massive difference. It's a numbers game for them, and they need to know that their voters, right, that their constituents are not happy with the work they're doing.
You know, if I could just for a moment, Ryan, focus on you. Your seat at the National Task Force is a little bit different. Your reaction of the advocacy point, the public advocacy for our LGBTQ community. Your eye on yesterday's event, what does it say to you?
One, I totally agree with what Julio just said. I also love that they were doing voter registration there. Not only do the politicians in the legislature pay attention to how many phone calls are coming in, they get monthly voter registration reports. They see when something happens in the news and voter registration ticks up or people start switching voter affiliation, they pay attention to that. And I think that's so important. So I think it's great. I think it's wonderful that we did something fun, we did something community and family oriented, and we also did something that activated people and gave them a next step. Allows them to take control of our fate and our power. We need to own our power, and sometimes just being visible is such an act of bravery, and doing things like marching allows us to own that power. I also love, in Tennessee, I don't know if you all saw this, but there are artists, straight cisgender male artists went out and did comedy shows, music performances in dresses and wigs to stand in solidarity.
Beautiful.
And, that's the kind of activism that we need right now.
Donna announced the new concert in Nashville.
Absolutely.
Specifically in support of the trans community and the drag community. She announced it just yesterday.
Oh, I missed that.
She's adding Nashville to the program and making it a fundraiser.
And it's just, it's important that we are coordinating with local, state, and national organizations. That's really how we're going to harness our power and win these battles.
Just one last thought. This is a great start. It's only a start, but it's percolating in 100 communities around the country, including continuing here in Florida and in South Florida. I hope that this story will be shared. If production could run that B-roll again of the video that we showed from the walk, I challenge RuPaul, come to Wilton Manors or to South Florida, to Fort Lauderdale, and be right at the front of the line of a protest march like this. It would send a shot that would literally be heard around the world. If you do it and you can't come to South Florida, do it in West Hollywood, or do it in San Diego at Hillcrest, or do it in the Castro in San Francisco, or do it in Palm Springs, wherever it is. I promise you, if I read one word that RuPaul is going to participate in an event like this, and I have any notice at all, we're coming to cover it wherever it is in America. We need RuPaul to come out and lead a protest like this.
Did you hear about the telethon that RuPaul's having?
Yeah.
That's a start as well,
it is,
right?
May 6th, yes.
You know
Great. In fact, we're reporting on it tomorrow.
What I would love is for us to do this on Election Day.
Yes.
I think it's great, and I think you're right, Al, that this is a start, but we need to get people out to the polls.
Yeah.
That's the way we're going to actually affect change. Yes, it's great to register folks to vote, but you actually have to show up to the polls.
100%.
And that's what we have to do a better job with.
In heels. We should all show up in heels.
I want to be in some heels. Yeah, absolutely.
You like that a lot, right? Like, yeah.
Like, why not?
Sitting here going, no, yeah, that's great. That's nice. Plus News is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ+ community.